Hello everyone, welcome to More About Disney. I'm the Disney Dude, here to welcome you. This is the very first episode of this new show. I wanted to kind of expand my my content. So I think that I'm about once a week. Once a week, I'm going to do these this new show along with the news 3 days a week. So usually this will be released on Fridays. But this is something that I wanted to do as a way to kind of expand my channel. I on the last show, on my last news show, I asked people to come up with topics for me to do, and I can go into more depth with those topics. So if you have any topics at all, please send them to me via commenting on this video, or if you know me, please text me or any way you can, email me. Like I said, any way you can, so we can talk about more Disney related items, more so than just news. Okay, so but like I said, this episode, with the very first episode, I want to talk about something that has been bothering me. I alluded to it on my last episode of the news, but I want to delve into Disney and how they are how they are how they're going about with their theming of their theme parks. Okay, and this is going to be kind of more of a just a personal notion of mine. You can let me know how you feel in the comments, but I truly think that Disney is ruining their theming of their theme parks. Okay, so let's start with Epcot. Disney's Hollywood Studios is going to be a big one. I want to save that one for last, because that's going to be the one that takes up the most time. So I'm going to start with Epcot. All right. So if any of you have watched any of my videos, I have explained the idea behind of what Epcot was supposed to be. Okay, Epcot was supposed to be under Walt Disney's direction. It was supposed to be an experimental prototype community of tomorrow. All right, and he felt that he wanted to create a city where people would go and live and have a brighter tomorrow. Okay, so he created what he envisioned was Epcot. Okay, and Epcot would have been a city here in Central Florida, and it would have been kind of half theme park, half city. So it would have been like, probably kind of like the Epcot we know today. Half of that and then the other half would have been a city, a functioning city, where we would all live. Okay, which is the reason why the reason why they founded Reedy Creek, because Reedy Creek was supposed to take care of all of the city needs. Okay, so they had their own water department, their own fire department, their own police department. They had everything. Okay, everything that you could imagine a city would have. That's what Epcot would have had. Okay, so that was the reasoning behind Reedy Creek. Okay, so again, if you're avid viewers of my news show, I have gone over this, so I'm going to repeat myself. So I do apologize for that, but just in case if you didn't know, that's the reason why Reedy Creek was founded. Okay, it was founded so that Disney could take care of everything that needed to happen with this city within Florida. Okay, when Walt Disney met with the lawmakers at the time in 1965, the governor of Florida at that time said, "Walt, we would love to have this. We would really love to have this, but we can't afford to take care of this city. We just can't. There is no way, our budget would allow this." And Walt basically said, "That's okay. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of this city." Okay, which is why Reedy Creek was formed, and everything. And then, unfortunately, Walt Disney passed away, so Epcot really shifted into another direction. It was kind of divided. It was divided into two sections. Okay, so the first section by the park entrance was it was kind of like a permanent World's Fair. Okay, where you would go and see the different technologies and different things that they had going that was supposed to make life better. Okay, so they had places like Innoventions, and they had places like the Land, where you could go see how they developed crops, and then you would go onto Spaceship Earth, and then you would see how communication how it formed throughout the years, starting with the prehistoric age, going all the way to the present age. Okay, and then you would have rides like the Living Seas that would take you on a very short trip underwater, basically, to see the different marine life and see how that they were caring for them. And then more part of that edutainment, that edutainment was with Journey into Imagination, where you would journey into imagination and kind of figure out, it kind of taught you, why imagination was important, and it taught you that anything is possible. Okay, and then you had on the other side of the lagoon, you had the World Showcase. So you had you had different neighborhoods, so to speak, teaching you about different cultures. So if we're going from left to right, so in the beginning Epcot didn't have all of them, okay? But I'm gonna go through each pavilion, okay, as they are now. So starting with Norway, okay, and you would go on. Why am I blanking on the name of the ride? Wow. Well, anyway, I'm sure I'll think of it, but I'll come back to it. So, but you would go on Maelstrom. That's what I was thinking of. You would go on Maelstrom and see, journey into the country of Norway. Okay, and then you would go, and then continuing on, you would go into the Mexico Pavilion, which would take you on a boat ride, taking you through the different city landmarks of Mexico. And this was before the Three Caballeros got into it. So remove the Three Caballeros, okay? So the first iteration of the ride in Mexico, which I don't even remember. I think it was still called the Grand Fiesta Tour. It might have been. No, it wasn't. It was Rio Grande. I think that was the name of it. I can't quite offhand remember it. But that would take you through the different the different cities of Mexico, and then continuing on, then you would go see Africa, and then you would see the American Adventure, which was a pavilion that was obviously based in American culture. So you would see a half-hour animatronic show that showcased all of American history, and then you would continue on to Japan, and then France. Okay, so basically you would go travel around the world, so to speak, learning about different cultures and how people in those cultures lived and did their had their way of life. Okay, and then people have said it. People have said it numerous times that when Epcot started to die is when they introduced characters into World Showcase. To be honest with you, Epcot is not the park that I was familiar with until I became an annual pass holder. So I can't really speak on Epcot all that much. But I mean, that never bothered me. Having characters in these countries never bothered me, because again, it was still part of that edutainment. Okay, you had Anna and Elsa in Norway. You had the Three Caballeros in Mexico. You have Remy and Belle and Beauty and the Beast in France. You have Mulan in China. You have different Disney characters, in their respective countries. Okay, so that never bothered me. Of putting characters in World Showcase. Because that was that part of that edutainment. Okay, and then people said that once They started putting characters again over in World Celebration, which is the front of the park. That was it. Again, didn't bother me. I mean, the Seas with Nemo and Friends, it doesn't really teach you about anything. You're just looking for Nemo, which is, it's not really an Epcot ride to me, the way that, that Frozen Ever After is, or Grand Fiesta Tour starring the Three Caballeros is, or Remy. Those rides that feature the Disney characters, they are still teaching you about culture, and still teaching you about that specific place. But the Seas with Nemo and Friends, it doesn't really teach you anything about the seas, which I think was kind of lost potential there. I think you could have done something else. You could have done something else and taught us about marine life, instead of just sticking Nemo in there. I like the ride. I really, no disrespect to the ride. I like the ride, but it's not really part of that edutainment aspect of it, okay? Whereas you had Ellen's Energy Adventure, which is now, that's where Cosmic Rewind is today. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is. You had Ellen's Energy Adventure, which would teach you about, energy and how it affects us humans and everything. So that was kind of a more loss to me when they took out Ellen's Energy Adventure, because they ripped out that edutainment and put in something that really makes no sense in Epcot. Okay? It really makes no sense in Epcot. Having Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot has no meaning. There is no meaning to that ride. It really doesn't deserve to be. It doesn't deserve to be in Epcot. Okay? And I know a lot of people are gonna, jump on me and say, oh, he's putting down Guardians and blah, 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 and it's, I still appreciate the ride of it, but it's not one of those things that's teaching me anything, okay? It's not like Mission Space, where, you're going into outer space, and you're learning about space travel. Or Test Track, for that matter, the 2.0 version of Test Track, where you were building your own car. And they would teach you about, how a car works, and, what goes into making a car, and then you would go and test the car, and, test the various functions of the car. So that Test Track is more of that edutainment. Guardians of the Galaxy has no place in Epcot. It really means nothing in Epcot, okay? It does not deserve to belong in that park, okay? I would like it more if it was like, I would like it more if it replaced Space Mountain, I would be devastated. But that makes more sense in that space. Instead of just plunking it down in Epcot, I really don't like that idea. You're basically having a different species, a different race, teaching me, kind of teaching me about, space and the Big Bang and everything. But it really doesn't teach you anything about it. Okay, it's just there as a fun ride, which I think is really sad. But But I think that that's when they started to kill Epcot. Is when they kind of, when they were, when they ripped out the edutainment aspects of their rides and replaced them with, stories that really have no business being in Epcot. Okay? Guardians is absolutely in that argument. Okay? Guardians of the Galaxy does not deserve to be in Epcot. Okay? And again, I know I'm going to get criticized for this, but it needs to be said. Okay? It needs to be said because Guardians of the Galaxy does not fit in Epcot. Okay? I'm going to save Hollywood Studios until last because I have a very big rant about the direction that park's going. I'm going to get this one over really fast. Magic Kingdom, you can do anything you want in Magic Kingdom. Okay? You can build anything you want in Magic Kingdom, and you're not going to destroy, the mission statement of the park. Okay? You're just not. Okay? So, as long as you put rides in the land where it makes sense, then you're not going to ruin Magic Kingdom. Okay? If they would have put, like, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, I don't know, in Tomorrowland, then Magic Kingdom would have been ruined. Okay? So, but having Tiana's Bayou Adventure fit into Frontierland, that makes sense. I know people are going to come in and they're going to be like, they ruined Splash Mountain, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Splash Mountain fit into Frontierland as well. Okay? So does Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I really hate to be that guy. Okay? I really hate to be that guy. But Tiana's Bayou Adventure fits into Frontierland. Okay? Much as our version of the Haunted Mansion, deserves to be in Liberty Square. Okay? Why the Country Bear Musical Jamboree deserves to be in Frontierland. Why Pirates of the Caribbean and the Jungle Cruise deserve to be in Adventureland, okay? As long as you build any ride that fits in that land, then you're fine. Then you are golden. You are good to go, okay? You cannot mess up Magic Kingdom. You just can't, okay? It is physically impossible for you to ruin Magic Kingdom, okay? So, Magic Kingdom, that's going to be the easiest part to discuss because you just can't ruin Magic Kingdom, okay? But now I want to move over to Animal Kingdom because Animal Kingdom, they're ruining Animal Kingdom, okay? They've already ripped out It's Tough to Be a Bug. They're sticking Zootopia in where it doesn't belong under the Tree of Life. Okay, so, that's ruined. Okay, you already ruined that. Okay, Indiana Jones, we're gonna have to wait and see on that. But I buy more that this park that it would fit into this park because Indiana Jones is searching for a mythical creature. And if those of you that are avid park goers like me or have studied the parks, you know that Animal Kingdom had a different name in the beginning. It was called Beastly Kingdom, okay? And it dealt with all manner of creatures that were not of this world. So that's why you had, the Yeti in Expedition Everest. That's why you had Dinosaur over in Dinoland, okay? Creatures that does not exist in this world fit into Beastly Kingdom, okay? And then when it was changed to Animal Kingdom, it still translated over, okay? It still made perfect sense to have, Dinosaur, and then it made perfect sense to have Expedition Everest, okay? And then it made perfect sense to have, It's Tough to Be a Bug under the Tree of Life. Because, you're going in, you're going, in theory, you're going underground to see a show. And, when you think about, what animals live underground, well, bugs live underground. So that made perfect sense to have a bug show under the Tree of Life. Okay? So, and they wanted to promote It's Tough to Be a Bug. Okay? Because It's Tough to Be a Bug was coming out the same year that Animal Kingdom opened in 1998. Okay? So they wanted to promote It's Tough to Be a Bug by having this show under the Tree of Life. Okay? And then, and now they're where It's Tough to Be a Bug is concerned, that part's ruined. That part's ruined, okay? There's no way you're gonna tell me that foxes and rabbits and gazelles and bears and cheetahs live underground, because they do not. They do not live underground, okay? And you're going to have the same characters teach me about biomes. Why are you teaching me about biomes, okay? Under the Tree of Life. That makes no sense, okay? I'm sorry. But that needs to be said. It needs to be said. Because I'm tired, people are coming in the comments and they're like, oh, the Zootopia show is going to be really great and blah, blah, blah. It's not. It's not going to fit under the Tree of Life. It's going to make no sense. It's going to make no sense fitting under the Tree of Life. All right? If you wanted to take out It's Tough to Be a Bug, that's fine. I get it, okay? I understand why you would want to remove It's Tough to Be a Bug, okay? I do. It was dark. It was scary. It was loud, okay? Not a lot of people enjoy, things like that. But if you were going to replace it with a show that made more sense, okay? You could have used my idea of, having a show under the Tree of Life where Timon and Pumbaa look for bugs, okay? But you didn't do that. You didn't do that. You pointed to Zootopia, and you're like, well, that's animal related. Let's stick that in. Well, we're not going to build a Zootopia land, so what are we going to do? I know, let's rip out It's Tough to Be a Bug and put in a Zootopia show where they're teaching people about biomes. That makes no sense. It makes no sense, and I'm sorry. But until I see that show, and if I'm proved wrong, then I will eat my words. Okay? I will get in front of this camera, and I will eat my words. I will admit to you that I was wrong. I will admit to you that I was wrong, and it's a good show. Okay? But in theory, I don't see it. I do not see it. All right? Encanto, it's replacing, so where Primeval Whirl once stood is where they're going to put the Encanto ride, which we don't have the name for it yet. But at first I was like, come on, guys, are you serious? I mean, serious? Why are we sticking more IP-related stuff that doesn't fit into Animal Kingdom? Okay? Why are we doing this? Okay? And then they came out with, this is it's going to take place the night that Antonio gets his gift, and his gift is speaking to animals. And I'm like, that's all you had to do. So thank you. That's all you had to do. Okay? You should have explained that in the first place instead of saying, we're going to stick in Encanto. And then all of us are like, Encanto has nothing to do with animals. Okay? And then you say, it's going to be, centered around, the ride is going to be centered around when Antonio gets his gift to to speak with animals. And we're like, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. So thank you very much. Okay. So, and then we were all proven wrong with that one. Okay. We were all proven wrong with that. So, I'm hoping, that, this ride will be good. I still don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I know it's going to fit into Animal Kingdom, but I feel more comfortable having an Indiana Jones attraction at Animal Kingdom more than I do with Encanto at first, okay? And then when Disney came out and said that, Antonio's getting his gift, and that's, when we're going to go visit, and he can talk to animals and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, now I can get on board with this. I'm on board with this. This is a good idea, okay? This is a good idea, okay? So I'm looking forward to that. But I mean, Avatar, nothing to do with animals. I'm sorry. Okay, it has nothing to do with animals. I don't even know what kind of creatures these are. But they're not animals. It doesn't belong at Animal Kingdom. Okay? Having Avatar that replaced Camp Mini Mickey, that makes no sense. That makes no sense, okay? It's a gorgeous land. I'm not going to argue that. Okay? It's a gorgeous land. I just don't see the connection between, having Avatar at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Okay? I just don't. All right? But that's what I mean when they're basically ruining Disney's Animal Kingdom, because they're the Tree of, the show Under the Tree of Life, that's ruined. Okay? But, I mean, everything else I can get on board with. But time's going to tell. Time is going to tell whether or not, Animal Kingdom is dead. Okay? Which I really hope it's not. But, again, we're just going to have to wait and see. Okay? 2027 is really not that far away. I mean, I know it's 2 years from now, but it's really not that far away. Okay? So we're just going to have to wait and see. All right? But now I'm going to get into my big rant, which is Hollywood Studios. All right? Disney's Hollywood Studios. Or if we want to go back to the beginning when it was called MGM Studios. All right? This park, I am the most passionate about. Okay? So this park means a lot to me. Okay? Because we were, my family were more of, show people, okay? We loved going to see the shows, okay? Beauty and the Beast, Indiana Jones, Voyage of the Little Mermaid, the Lights, Motors, Action Stunt Show. We loved the tram tour going on, obviously, the great movie ride, okay? This was a park that was built, let's go back to the MGM days, okay? So MGM Studios was built as was half theme park, half working film studio, okay? So the idea was they were going to, half of it was going to be a theme park, and the other half was going to be an actual live filming studio, okay? And so when, they had their own costume department, their own lighting department, their own everything, okay? Because, they were going to make movies on this, live soundstage, as it were, okay? So, I really loved that aesthetic. Going back into the 1930s, 40s era of Hollywood, and the golden age of Hollywood was great. we absolutely loved that park, okay? You know, we loved, the Great Movie Ride. We loved Lights, Motors, Action Stunt Show. We loved the tram tour, okay? It was those things fit into MGM Studios, okay? Now, whether or not you think that Beauty and the Beast fits in there, we can have that conversation. We can absolutely have that conversation. Okay? There is nothing about, and this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt me. But I really love Beauty and the Beast live on stage. Really, really do. I love all those cast members. Okay? But that has nothing to do with Hollywood. It has nothing to do with, they're not filming, a Beauty and the Beast type of show. You don't see people with cameras, filming stuff and everything. So the really only way it fits into MGM Studios was it takes place at the Hollywood Bowl. Okay? So that's where it fits. Okay? Then you had, on the other hand, you had a show like the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, where they were actually, obviously pretend, but they were filming, stunts to be seen in a movie, in one of the Indiana Jones movies. Okay, so that whole show, I have no beef with that show whatsoever. Okay, I really love that show as well, and of course I know all the cast members there as well. But I have no beef. I have no beef with the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular because it fits. It fits into MGM Studios, okay? Whether or not that fits into Hollywood Studios, I don't know, okay? I don't know. But when it was MGM Studios and it was, back then it was, peeking behind the curtain of how they made your favorite movies, then it absolutely fit. It absolutely fit, okay? Because they were filming the stunts, and they were, doing all kinds of crazy and wild stunts, falling off buildings, things exploding, Indiana Jones escaping from the giant boulder, it fits. It absolutely fits. It's the only, I hate to bring this up, but this is the only thing left. This is the only thing left in this park that makes sense. Okay? It's the only thing left that is movie oriented. Okay? That's about making movies. It's the only thing left. And I really hope to God that they never get rid of it, at least in my lifetime. Okay? Because it's the only thing left that fits into the theme of that fit into the theme of MGM Studios. Okay? Whereas you had rides like the Great Movie Ride, which took you, showed you different scenes of your favorite movies. You had the tram tour, which took you around the backlot area to see the different departments of the movie studio. And of course you had that, great giant water tower and everything. So, and then you had the Lights, Action, Motors Stunt Show, which again was, fit into the aesthetic of Disney MGM Studios, because they were, filming live stunts, okay, to use in a film, in an actual film, okay, theoretically. They didn't do that, but theoretically, all right? And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but management took a look at MGM Studios, which I don't even know, I don't even know if it was a Bob Iger thing, or if it was a Bob Chapek thing, but they started they started to ruin Disney's MGM Studios, okay? It started, it didn't even start with the Great Movie Ride, okay? It really started with getting rid of the Tram Tour and Lights, Motors, Action Stunt Show, okay? They got rid of those, and they wanted to put Star Wars in. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is not good. I don't know why you're putting Star Wars into a movie-making theme park. That doesn't make any sense. So they put Star Wars in that area, and then they had the bright idea to rip out the Tram Tour and put in Toy Story Land. Again, doesn't fit that movie aesthetic. So that was taken away as well. Okay? So those two things were already gone. Okay? So the Great Movie Ride was the only thing left in this park that made sense, other than the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. Okay? And then Bob Chapek, in his brilliant wisdom, I'm using sarcasm, decided to rip out the Great Movie Ride, and at first they were going to put in, there was always an idea to put in a Mickey Mouse themed ride that would replace the Great Movie Ride, okay? And the Mickey Mouse ride would have taken you through scenes of Mickey Mouse's film and television career, okay? Which would have made perfect sense to have that in, Disney MGM Studios. But toward the end of the Great Movie Ride's life, the park had changed names to Disney's Hollywood Studios, so they weren't even using that MGM name anymore. So, but even before having Mickey Mouse in that space, they really wanted to update the Great Movie Ride. Okay? They really wanted to update the Great Movie Ride, which is what they should have done. Okay? Would have been the right thing to do. Okay? Updating the Great Movie Ride. But again, Bob Chapek came in, said no. That's not what we're doing. Okay? Audiences aren't going to care about a 20-minute ride that teaches them about movies. Okay? Because their attention span is not going to last more than 5 minutes. So we need to take that out. Take that out and replace it with something shorter. Okay? And then they started coming up with the Great Mickey Ride, which again would have, taken you through Mickey Mouse's film career. And Bob was like, no. You're missing the point. We are not doing that. Okay? We are not doing that because, again, people's attention spans aren't going to last that long. Okay? Put in something short. Okay? So then they came up with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And that was really the final nail in the coffin for MGM Studios. When they ripped out the Great Movie Ride and they put in Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, that was really the final nail in the coffin about, ruining MGM Studios. That was it. That was gone. It was no more. Disney's Hollywood Studios is just its own thing now. It's its own thing. It's a total mishmash of stuff that makes no sense. It makes no sense. One side you have, Hollywood Boulevard, which, thankfully still has Beauty and the Beast live on stage. Then you have Rock and Roller Coaster, which is, not going to be that way for much longer, but until the Muppets take over that. But you have Rock and Roller Coaster. Then you have Voyage of the Little Mermaid. And then you have, until the new Little Mermaid show comes out. And then you have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And then you have Indiana Jones. And then you have Star Tours. And then you have Muppet Vision. And then you have Star Wars. You have Galaxy's Edge. And then on the other side you have Toy Story Land. Okay? You have a total mishmash of stuff that does not belong in this park. Okay? With a few exceptions to that. Obviously, Indiana Jones, that needs to stay. And, I truly believe that Muppet Vision 3D belongs in this park. It belongs in this park because it actually does fit into the aesthetic of Disney MGM Studios. You're going to see the Muppets put on a show for you. Okay? So that fits into the theme of MGM Studios. Okay? Ripping that out and, basically taking a crap on Jim Henson's legacy, ripping that whole area out, and you're going to put in a Monsters Inc. themed area is just another insult to injury. It's just another insult to injury. So you're basically you're all you're doing is you're just still ruining Hollywood studios. That's all you're doing. You're just basically ruining, you're just as when I thought that it couldn't get any worse, then they're going to get rid of Muppet Vision 3D, okay? And they're adding Monsters Inc., okay? Which is another insult to injury. Monsters Inc. does not belong in that park. It does not belong in that park. Same reason as Star Wars does not belong in that park. Toy Story Land does not belong in that park, okay? That park was not built for that stuff, okay? That park was not built for IP to take over. Okay, that park was built as a celebration of what makes Hollywood Hollywood. All right, and they've basically ruined all of that. And Hollywood Studios is not just this mishmash of stuff. It's just it's just random stuff now. Okay, it's like, oh, we have Mickey and Minnie here for some reason. We have The Little Mermaid over there. Now we have Indiana Jones. Now we have Star Tours. Now we have Toy Story Land. Now we have Galaxy's Edge. Now we have Monsters Inc. Okay? It's just a mishmash of stuff that makes no sense to go in that park. Okay? It doesn't. All right? So, when I say that I'm very passionate about this park, I mean it. I really mean that I am passionate about this park. Okay? It's physically impossible to ruin Magic Kingdom. Okay? You've already ruined Epcot. Okay? Epcot is not what it once was. You're going to ruin Animal Kingdom. Okay? So that's coming. Okay? And now you're ruining Hollywood Studios even more. You're ruining it even more by taking out, you're taking out Muppet Vision 3D. You're taking, pardon my French, okay, but you're taking a shit on Jim Henson's legacy. You obviously don't care. You're taking that out, putting in Monsters Inc. where it doesn't fit, okay, and you're ruining that park, okay? And that's why I really hope to God that Indiana Jones stays. I really, really hope that stays. Okay? Because that's the last thing that makes sense in this park. Okay? And as much as I love Beauty and the Beast live on stage, has nothing to do with Hollywood, other than it being at the Hollywood Bowl. Okay? As much as I really love Fantasmic, has nothing to do with Hollywood, okay? Star Wars has no business being at Hollywood Studios, okay? Toy Story Land, that has no business being at Hollywood Studios, all right? And look, I really love Rise of the Resistance, okay? I really do. And I really like walking around Galaxy's Edge. I really do, okay? So I'm not knocking that land. Toy Story Land, that's another story, okay? That land is cheap garbage that does not... You want to talk about something that doesn't deserve to be in that park? Toy Story Land does not deserve to be in that park. All right? Toy Story Land has no business being in Hollywood Studios. It really doesn't. Neither does Star Wars. I really hate to be that person. But Star Wars has no business being in a park that was built to celebrate how they made your favorite movies. All right? Even though I love walking around Galaxy's Edge and it's themed, and Rise of the Resistance is a fantastic ride. Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, I could do without it. It's fine. It's okay. It's not great, but when I go to Galaxy's Edge, I'm riding Rise of the Resistance. That's really the only reason why I'm going to Galaxy's Edge. Okay? So, taking out this movie-making theme park and just plopping in, a bunch of IP where it doesn't belong, I think is asinine. It is asinine and it is ridiculous. It is absolutely outrageous. All right? So that's the way I feel about Hollywood Studios. Okay? And I'm sure people are going to comment, are going to go in the comments and they're going to be like, but that's why, Star Wars was there because Hollywood Studios was boring and blah, blah, and Toy Story Land and everything. Okay? I'm really sorry to be that guy. I am really, really sorry to be that guy. But those two things do not belong in that park. They just don't. Okay? That's just, that's me, being the sentimental fool that I am. I want to hold on to things that are dear to me. Okay? And whenever they get rid of stuff at Hollywood Studios, especially, taking out the tram tour, taking out, Great Movie Ride, which is insult to injury enough already. Now you're ripping out Muppet Vision 3D, and you're just ripping more skin off. Okay, so that's why I feel really strongly about this park, because it has more connection to me. We always, we absolutely loved going to Disney's MGM Studios. Okay? Because we were not ride people. We were not roller coaster type people. Okay? We really enjoyed seeing the stage shows and going on slow dark rides and such. Okay? And you're replacing that with stuff that is just a mishmash, and it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And I had a conversation with one of a friend of mine, cast member at Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular a little while ago. After the show ended, I always stop and talk to him, and he always stops and talks to me and shakes my hand and everything. So it's great to catch up with him, but I had a serious conversation with him. I said, I am really scared for the future. I am really, really scared of the future. I said, I really hope to God that this show does not go away. I really hope to God that this show does not go away. Okay? Because it's the only thing left that actually fits into Hollywood Studios after they take out Muppet Vision 3D. Okay? And he was very sympathetic with me, and he said, as long as we draw a crowd, I don't see us ever getting rid of this show. When the crowd stop coming, then then unfortunately I can't do anything about it. So, but I really hope that Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular stays. because it's the only vestige in the park that makes sense until they get rid of Muppet Vision 3D. So right now they have two things that make sense in that park. Once they rip out Muppet Vision 3D, Indiana Jones is all you got. That is all you got from the original Disney MGM Studios days. So, enjoy Muppet Vision 3D while it lasts, because once that goes, that's it. Other than Indiana Jones, Hollywood Studios has no identity, has no park identity. Okay? People want to complain and complain and complain about Epcot not having an identity, and it having a serious identity crisis, which it does. But Hollywood Studios has a really big identity crisis. A really big identity crisis. One that we have seldom seen at the Disney theme parks. Okay? Disney is basically ruining their theme. They are ruining their theme to their theme parks. Okay? With Epcot, depending on your point of view, Animal Kingdom, and Disney's Hollywood Studios. They're getting rid of their theme. They obviously don't care. They obviously don't care about their theme, and they're just looking at different IPs, picking things out of the air, saying that can go here, that can go here. Oh, let's get rid of this. We'll put that here instead. Okay. So I really don't appreciate what Hollywood Studios has become. I really don't appreciate what Disney's Hollywood Studios has become. Okay? And like I said, you can do anything you want to Magic Kingdom. Okay? You can do anything you want to Magic Kingdom. You are not going to ruin that park. It is absolutely physically impossible, okay, to ruin that theme park. Okay? The other three parks, they're ruining. They are ruining with, just plucking IP out of the air and sticking them in. And I really don't appreciate that. I really do not appreciate that fact. All right? So, again, I may be just a sentimental old fool, but that's just the way I feel about it. But please, let me know how you feel in the comments. If you like the current state of, Hollywood Studios or Epcot or Animal Kingdom, that's fine, okay? That's your opinion, okay? But when I was growing up and I came to these parks, more Hollywood Studios than Epcot, but when we came to these to MGM Studios, Hollywood Studios especially, it made sense. It made sense. And now they're just ruining it. They are just ruining it. And I really think that that's sad. I really think that that's sad. When Bob Chapek was fired, and we all rejoiced, and, Bob Iger was going to come back and take the helm, we were all so happy. We were all so happy that, we were very positive that this regime was going to do so much better than the Chapek regime. Okay? Because we felt that, we knew, we had the thought that they knew what the hell they were doing. Okay? And it just turns out that they're not. As much as I really like Bob Iger, I don't like the way that he's going with these theme parks. I just don't. I don't like that. I don't like the ideas. Some of them I like, but some of them I just don't like. So at first I was very excited about the management change. Now I'm not so happy with it. It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing for me as an avid park goer for that, went to these parks for over, you know, 30 years of, of my life, okay? And to see them change in a way that it's not going in the right direction. Things are changing. Things are not going in the right direction. It really saddens me. It really, really saddens me. And I'm just hoping and praying that, Animal Kingdom doesn't get rid of Finding Nemo, The Big Blue and Beyond. It doesn't get rid of Festival of the Lion King. Hollywood Studios, I'm praying to God that, they don't get rid of Beauty and the Beast live on stage, that they don't get rid of the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. I used to think that Muppet Vision could not be touched. I used to think that you could not touch Muppet Vision 3D. That was sacred ground. And it turns out it's not. It is not. Anything is fair game. Okay? So I am really disappointed with the way that Disney management is thinking about these theme parks. So, it's very saddening. Very, very saddening to me. So, but, again, maybe I'm just a sentimental old fool who doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't know. Okay? But please, let me know in the comments how you feel. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are you excited for things? Are you not excited for things? But please let me know in the comments how you feel. Okay, I'd love to get your feedback. Okay, so but that'll do it for this very first episode. Please let me know what other episodes you'd like for me to do. Like I said, I want to try something new. I thought that this would be a perfect way to kind of open up the door into different topics other than just what's new and upcoming. So, like I said, once a week, every Thursday or Friday, I'll probably record these on Wednesdays and then have them out on either Thursday or Fridays. But if you guys have any suggestions about of what else I can talk about, please, do not hesitate to give me a shout out, either on this video or my email. I would really, really love to, like I said, I really want to expand this channel and get, talk about topics that are other than news. So, but I'm interested, I'm excited to hear from you folks. I really am excited to hear from you. Please, not a lot of people comment, I think that they're probably afraid to, which I get, but I mean, I want to do topics that everyone wants to talk about. So, it's, please, comment under the video, please let me know any way you can. Please, whatever topics you want me to talk about, I will give my insight on. But I want to thank you guys for joining me on this very first episode. This episode was really long. I don't know if they're going to be that way in the future or not. We're just going to have to wait and see how it goes. But there you are. That's my epic rant about how I feel the way theme parks are going with their theming. So if you like this video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I really do appreciate you guys. I try to comment on each of the videos that you guys that you guys comment on. I try to comment back as much as I can. I thank you guys very much for doing that. We will see you next time. You guys stay safe and healthy. We will see you real soon, all right? Thank you very much for watching this video. You guys have a magical rest of your afternoon, your day, your evening, whatever time you're watching this. Thank you guys very much. You guys have a magical rest of your day, and we will see you real soon.